name's Jean Gross. My career as a teacher, a writer and an advisor to government has all been about children who don't have much going for them in their lives and need extra support and help. So for me, the Pupil Premium is a really important development. In these 3 short films, I want to talk about some of the good practice in using it that I've seen across the country. The purpose of the Pupil Premium funding is to close attainment gaps. The funding isn't ring-fenced, so you can choose how to spend it, but you do have to publish online an account of how much you receive and how you plan to use it, then at the end of the year an account of what you spent it on and what the impact has been on pupil progress. Reporting is by academic year, even though the funding is allocated to you by financial year. You won't obviously know in advance what your funding will be for the summer term, so the DfE suggests that you report on your known funding allocation up to the end of the financial year and update the published information as the full figures become available. The reports you have to do are one way of holding schools to account for their use of the premium. There are others. Performance tables now capture the achievement of pupils who are covered by the Pupil Premium, and Ofsted will definitely be looking at this area if you have an inspection due soon. They will look at how well eligible pupils have achieved since joining the school, and they'll look at this: how effectively leadership and management at all levels enables all pupils to overcome specific barriers to learning, for example, through the effective use of the Pupil Premium. So if you haven't so far been disaggregating Pupil Premium funding from your main budget and evaluating its impact, you need to do that now. The first step in meeting the new reporting and Ofsted requirements is to tag eligible pupils on your school's data and tracking systems so that you can analyse their progress as individuals and as a group. Really, planning for and tracking the progress of pupils who receive the Pupil Premium is just an extension of what you already do for other vulnerable groups like children with special educational needs. Take a look at the handout accompanying this film for more information. Profiling each child eligible for the Pupil Premium who's fallen behind in the ways suggested in the handout should give you clues about what action to take. If you pull together the profiling information from across a year group, along with similar information about pupils with SEN and other vulnerable groups, you can see where the shared needs might be, what CPD might be useful for staff teaching that year group, and what additional small group or one-to-one interventions will be needed. You can construct a year group by year group provision map of additional interventions that will be in place to accelerate language, literacy, maths, social emotional development. This means that when reporting on your use of the Pupil Premium, you can publish this provision map and just add, for each intervention, the numbers of children eligible for the premium who took part and the cost in staffing and resources. You can then describe any other expenditure that links to the pupil profiling you did, CPD costs, financial support for extracurricular activities, or to overcome basic barriers like poor attendance or starting the day hungry. I've seen some good Pupil Premium reports where schools have also set out the general principles they've used when planning how to spend their funding. They may clearly state, for example, that many children eligible for free school meals will be achieving well in school and not need additional help. Where they do, the school will use the same approach as for all other pupils. If any child's falling behind, the class teacher will work with parents, carers and the child to identify exactly what the barriers to learning are and what might be done to tackle those barriers. This will help remove any stigma that families feel about their child receiving free school meals and can be part of your strategy for encouraging as many parents as possible to register their child's entitlement with you. When you're reporting on the impact of the Pupil Premium, schools are using measures like these for eligible pupils. So overall progress and attainment compared to national and local figures and to other children in the school, overall progress and attainment compared to the previous year, percentage reduction in numbers making less than expected progress, percentage increase in numbers exceeding expectations, increases in reading or number age or standardised test scores as a result of the intervention programmes on your provision map, percentage improvement in attendance or punctuality, percentage reduction in recorded behaviour incidents, or the percentage increase in parents or carers taking part in parents' evenings or courses, workshops about supporting their child's learning. So, to meet the reporting requirements for the Pupil Premium, we give 4 elements: a statement of principles, a provision map, to show what additional interventions children access and the costs, a description of other types of spend, and finally, an impact statement that uses hard data to show what's been achieved. Finally, let's look at some of the leadership and management issues involved in getting the best from the pupil premium in your school. One issue could be how you work with other local schools in your cluster or soft federation. Smaller schools, or those with relatively few children eligible for the premium, can find it really difficult to put new provision in place on their own, but they might combine with other schools to share a family support worker or a speech and language therapist or a specialist one-to-one teacher, for example, or for shared CPD. Another issue, particularly important for Ofsted inspections, is governance. Your governing body need to know about the priorities you've established for the use of the premium and receive regular reports on the impact. One governor might take special responsibility for this area on its own or as part of a wider vulnerable pupils or closing the gap brief. Similarly, many schools make the use and impact of the pupil premium part of the accountabilities of a member of SMT. Ofsted will also look to your school's self-evaluation to see what it has to say about closing attainment gaps. You could include a general description of your data-led process for deciding on year group and pupil group priorities, a summary of how pupils' progress is tracked, and of how the barriers to each child's learning are discussed. And then in relation to children receiving the pupil premium, you would add details of the data reported to governors and the overall end-of-year impact statement. You'll want, of course, to showcase particularly successful initiatives, but also to be frank about where your data show less impact and what you're planning to do to address this in the future. It is this that provides the real test of your leadership, how to improve the actual impact of your funding. It's the key challenge thrown to us by Ofsted in a recent report they wrote on schools' use of the pupil premium. This is what they said. School leaders, including governing bodies, should evaluate their pupil premium spending, avoid spending it on activities that have little impact on achievement for their disadvantaged pupils, and spend it in ways known to be most effective. This means you must have a good knowledge of what works for disadvantaged children, and that's what I will look at in the next film.